was like, I want to be a pastor. I'm like, yeah, I don't think I want that. I did not want to be that pastor's wife because I had this idea of what a pastor's wife was.
Yeah.
And I thought I had to give up who Shameka was to be that. Early on, I was that. Like, I allowed people to tell me what I should wear. You only can live with a mask for so long.
Yeah. There is a deep level of sacrifice. This has not been an easy road to build a church.
So I got degrees. I was a computer engineer for the Space Center.
Yeah.
I was doing my thing when we got married. But I think that's why a lot of single women are still single, because they're so driven and want to be this independent woman. They're not willing to partner with somebody and give up some things in life.
You talk about the emotional healing journey that you've done. You've also done the physical.
It's like, when I met you, you look like this. A lot of people say you're carnal as a Christian if you care about what people look like. I don't believe that. When I work with couples, I'm like, you need to like what you see. Living discipline has a look.
You all have a whole counseling practice.
Yeah.
What is one of the biggest things you spend a lot of time coaching women on relationships or in their marriage? Welcome to Vault Empowers Talk. So we don't just scratch the surface. We dive deep into the lives of some of the world's most influential change makers. I'm your host, Brandi Harvey. But before I introduce my guest for today, I need you to go ahead and do me a favor. I need you to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss your daily dose of inspiration and motivation. But without further ado, I get to introduce this phenomenal woman sitting across from me, Shameka Daniels. She empowers and encourages women to be who God has fearfully and wonderfully made them to be. Shameka coaches and disciples women to discover their calling through mentorship groups, workshops, and creative events. Shameka has a Bachelor of Arts degree in software engineering from the University of Southern Mississippi. She has a master's degree in health and human counseling, marriage, and family. She is a certified grief recovery specialist through the Grief Recovery Institute and a certified John C. Maxwell coach, teacher, trainer, and speaker. Shameka is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. She serves as the First Lady of Change Church, where she leads the Change Her Women's Ministry. Shameka believes you should love well and live well. Vault Empowers Talks. Welcome, wife, mother, servant leader, kingdom builder, and change agent, Shameka Daniels, to the show.
Thank you.
How
Thank
are
you?
you?
So much for having me.
I am so excited. Look, we had your husband here.
Yes.
And he graced the seat.
That's right. He spoke so highly
You
of
know, good. So he just cleared a path for you to come.
That's
you
right.
know.
Well, I'm ready. I'm ready.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I told you off camera that even, I really wanted you to come on the show, I said, because you are like the quintessential of what we look for first ladies to be in this era.
Right.
You show up with such poise, and you play your position.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
you
play
play
it.
your position
Okay.
in a very smart way.
Okay. I like that. I love the idea of that. I know when we first got started, we were actually 22 when we got married. And I want to say we were 23 and thrown into ministry. So my parents grew up in church. My parents were in church. I was in church. I knew about church, but I did not want to be that pastor's wife because I had this idea of what a pastor's wife was.
Yeah.
And I thought I had to give up who Shameka was to be that.
Yeah.
And very early on, I was that. Like, I allowed people to tell me what I should wear, what I should say, what I should do.
Yeah.
And I was pretty miserable. But one day my husband, he had a conversation with me because I think we were having some problems where people were being more vocal and I had my own opinion. And so he was like, Shameka, first off, when you enter any situation, he was like, you only have to handle people once. He was like, Ohio, I want you to remember that. He said, you say it, handle them once, and move on. I'm like, okay, you giving me permission to do that?
Yeah.
So that was the first thing. And then he said, you have been created to be my wife, my helpmate. And he was like, from there, I just need you to be that. He was like, you don't have to be anything else. He was like, you don't have to speak, preach, none of that.
Yeah.
I just need you to be my wife.
Yeah.
And that freed me. And
Yeah.
so from then on, I threw away all those suits, all those hats. And honey, I'm like doing my thing now.
Listen, I said I watched you all have this doc that you all did many years ago
Right.
when it was Kingdom Church. And if anyone, knows you all's journey, I'm sure over the years who are parishioners of Kingdom Church, like what you all are doing at Change Church, this is nothing new.
Oh, no.
This is y'all got the receipts.
Yes, we
y'all
do.
been on Wipe Me Down.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
the very beginning.
Yeah. But you had to have a real buy-in because you introduced him to your family and your pastor. Y'all went to a Bible study
Yes.
on a Wednesday night.
That's right.
And they encouraged you all to get counseling.
Yes.
But early on in your marriage, you bought into the vision of who your husband was and who he was called to be.
You know, I think it was even when we were dating. So, like I mentioned, my parents were in ministry. And when I started dating him, we actually met at a party, a Greek party. He was Alpha, I'm AKA. So we met at the party. And we had conversations. And he told me, I feel a call to ministry. And I was like, what do you mean a call to ministry? He was like, I want to be a pastor. I'm like, yeah, I don't think I want that. So I was going to church on the weekends. I was in Bible study, but I just did not want that because my idea of being a pastor's wife and being in church all the time, I'm like, it just wasn't a good environment. What I grew up in, it was so legalistic. I'm like, I don't want that. So I actually didn't call him for a while. And one day he said, and we saw each other a few times, but he said God spoke to him and was like, this is your wife. Wow. You need to call her. So he called me, and I don't know, maybe I was going through the right thing that day, and I had the conversation, and I said, you know, I'm willing to take this leap. So even then, when we start dating, I knew to call on his life. Wow. And we were still just in college.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want people, because I want them to understand, you know, there is a deep level of sacrifice that goes into what you all have really, because he's been called,
right?
But there's a calling for you because as his wife, you know, and there's a deep level of sacrifice because this has not been an easy road to build a church.
It hasn't. Yeah. I think that it's an understanding that you are not the number one person. You're the number two. I had to have that. And that took me a while because my mom raised me where I needed to be this strong, fierce woman. You can do bad by yourself, have your own. And so early on, I felt like I needed to have my own. But what we learned is for me to come alongside him, really get behind him and push him to where he needed to be. That was me no longer having my own. That was me coming under his vision. And so I think that took some emotional healing, a whole lot of stuff for me because you got to be secure. To say, okay, I'm no longer going to do this. So I got degrees. I was a computer engineer for the Space Center. I was doing my thing when we got married. And then there's some other things in my heart that I've really wanted to do, but I needed to make sure it aligned with what his vision was. And you got to be a strong person in your faith and knowing that you've been assigned to that person to be willing to say, hey, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah. I think that's the part that many women in our generation are missing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of women, and I don't get in trouble for this, but I think that's why a lot of single women are still single because they are so driven and want to be this independent woman. They're not willing to partner with somebody and give up some things in life. And it doesn't mean that you're going to always have to give them up. It's seasons to it. Yeah. So early on, I wasn't able to do some of the things that I can do now, but I was willing to wait to my season.
Yeah. You said there were some things you were willing to give up and work towards, and whatever that was, that's what you were willing to do. Because when your husband went to seminary school, you had to stay back for some time.
Absolutely. So the day he left was September 11th, and literally I was seeing him off. My dad and my father-in-law was going to drive him up. I was headed to the Space Center, and I got a call and said, you can't come in. And we turn on the TV, Twin Towers going down. So my job was going to relocate me to New Jersey and let me work from home. But when that happened, we lost all our funding, our government funding. So they was like, Shameka, you got to stay here and work, or if you leave, you got to resign. And for us, that was no option because I was the only person having an income at that time. So I said, okay, I'm going to stay back. And I stayed for 6 months. And then after 6 months, we was like, this is too much. We can't do it. So.
And then you go up to New Jersey when he's in seminary, and then you all eventually, of course, build your first church there.
Absolutely.
But this was some rough times that you all really endured. I mean, you all were on public assistance.
Yes, absolutely.
For quite some time.
We applied to try to get everything. They denied us because when I left my job, he was in school making $75 a week. You can't do anything with $75 a week. And because I resigned, I didn't have a severance package. So I had stacked up some money, and my parents were willing to help us. My parents are great. They helped us through whatever we needed. But I'm literally counting dollars and pennies. And he tried to apply for food stamps and welfare. He got denied for both, but we were only able to get WIC. So literally that's all we had to go in the grocery store to be able to get the milk for my son and whatever cheese and cereal and stuff like that. And other than that, we figured it out.
Yeah. It's a figuring out. You know, that's the process.
Right.
And you had to surrender early on to the process.
Surrender every time to the process. Even in figuring it out, I'm like, I have a degree. I was a programmer. I was making good money. But even when I went to find a job, I was working at a school, teaching school for a minute. I taught computer classes so that I could have money. And I did that until other opportunities opened up.
Yeah. So many trials, so many tribulations, but you all, this is you knew that this man
Right.
was going to move into a bigger space.
I knew that the day I met him. When I started talking to him and he talked about his dreams and aspirations, I was on board then because I'm not the type of person. I was an AKA, I was in school. I had plenty of guys after me.
Yeah.
And so I never had to pay for dinner and all of that type of stuff. So when I met him, he didn't have any money. I had to pay for our first date. Had to get his cell phone in my name. So I'm like, Lord, I must really love this man. But I saw something in him. It was the drive. I heard his vision. And he was a dreamer, but I'm like, this man, he got it. He knows what he's talking about. So I was willing to make the investment early on.
Yeah. The investment early on. Yeah. How has that really impacted you? Because you all took another leap of faith. There was the first leap of faith was to go to New Jersey.
Right.
And then you took another leap of faith to move here to Atlanta.
Yeah. So New Jersey was, and even in New Jersey, we started the first location in Ewing, and that was great. We were young. We didn't have money coming in. I remember when we first started, we said, we'll take our savings account and we'll figure it out once again. But people started giving, and the church did well, but we were a new church. And so with a new church, people aren't going to give you loans. They're not going to do those type of things. So we worked our resources and our connections and found favor with people.
People took out loans.
They did.
They took out second mortgages on their houses.
That's right. Because they believed in us.
Yeah,
people believe. When you live with integrity and people see what you're doing with the money that they give, then they're willing to keep doing it. Yeah. And we were intentional about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you said integrity because recently your husband's birthday and you were on stage and you said the person that you see on this stage is the person he is at home.
Yes.
And I think that is why I've seen you all's ministry grow. I mean, 10x, your ministry, because you all are who y'all supposed to be.
Yeah. And that's something I tell people because I see a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I witness things, and I want people to know, like, Dharius Daniels is legit. He's for real. He loving me at home. He loving me in public. Nothing is going on. You don't have to worry about anything with us. We're solid enough to know that we're going to work on ourselves. We got enough sense to have a pastor in our life. We got counselors in our life.
Yeah.
And so we do what we're supposed to do so that we can be an example. But I want people to know, like, he's legit. Yeah. Because so many people say one thing and they're living another way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's so important because you talk about, that level of integrity, but it speaks to how you even came into marriage because you said that you were always seeking and searching, something outside of yourself, like, not really feeling all the way secure in Shameka.
Right.
But he gave you that kind of platform, that kind of, he made it safe.
He helped me find that, but I don't think right away. So a lot of times people think when you get a title, then you're automatically like healed from everything in your past. That's not the case. That's not the case at all. So I had a childhood. My mother was 40 when she had me. She was a boss woman. She was the first black school teacher in the Clinton Public School District when it was time for the segregation of schools. So she was one of these women where she was divorced early on, grew up with 2 boys, raised those boys, worked hard to pull herself up by her own bootstraps. So she instilled something different in me. But she was hard on me because she had me at 40. So I'm the 40, the daughter of a 40-year-old. Yeah. She was overprotective. Yeah. And I understand why, but she was. Yeah. And so there was a lot of things that happened in my childhood as relates to school and the way people treated me. I didn't feel accepted at all times. I dealt with so much rejection just from some family members and a number of different areas. So that already, I have this outward exterior where I got to be strong, but inwardly, I didn't feel accepted. Yeah. And so then I go into this position as a pastor's wife and not sure if I'm being accepted in every area. It's like that thing is, it's brutal. Like it messes with you. Yeah. And so for me, he put me in these roles. I'm leading women's ministry, but like, I didn't know stuff. I literally would read books and learn everything I needed to know about the book, go back and put notes on it, and then teach from it. Because I'm like, I don't have anything on my own. I'm like, I can't put together nothing on my own. I need material because it was the lack of confidence in me. And so through the years, once I got on my own healing journey, then he helped pull something out of me. And he helped me find who Shameka is. And then I was able to find my confidence. And so now I can do things like go in a room or get up on stage and not be worried. Yeah. Whereas before, just because of all my past, I wasn't able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your past, you experienced a lot of grief growing up. You lost two friends
Yes.
very early on
Yes.
in life. And so
Absolutely.
you say your resilience was your protective key.
Right. And I think that came from my mom. She was a resilient woman. And so I was taught to be resilient. And so, there's pros and cons of both, right? So I remember being in the second grade and I lost my first friend in a car accident. And that was devastating for
Yeah.
me because we rode to school together every day.
Yeah.
That was my
Yeah.
friend. And then literally a couple years later, sixth grade, I lost my next friend. This was somebody who accepted me for who Shameka was, drowned in a pool. So I'm like, oh. But each time my mom was like, hey, okay, we're not going to go to the funeral. I don't want you to have to deal with that. So it's like she taught me to put the pain aside and not deal with it.
Yeah.
Whereas I wish I had been taught to learn to face some of that, face the pain, face the grief. So I didn't know how to grieve. And then when I went to high school, I lost my god sister in a car accident.
Wow.
So that was like back to back to back. And once again, it was so bad. It was a bad situation. So she was like, you stay home and watch the other kids. We all gonna go to the funeral.
Wow.
So I'm like, I needed to learn the
Yeah.
grieving process. And I didn't learn it. And that was hard for me. And being a pastor's wife, it was hard. Because
Yeah.
y'all know what I didn't do? I didn't go to people's funerals.
Wow.
So people in the church would pass away in New Jersey, and I could not go to the funeral.
Wow.
I was afraid. I didn't know how to grieve. I didn't even know what to say. And so that thing, it haunted me. And once I started working on me and my healing, I was like, I need to attack this grief thing.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And so after I did that, I became the grief recovery specialist because I knew the importance of learning to grieve properly. Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine the first lady who doesn't go to funerals. Oh, they was coming for your
They was
neck.
coming for me. They was coming for me.
Who she thinks she is?
Right.
She don't feel like she needs to come. Oh, I know they probably
They was
did.
coming for me.
Yeah.
And then if I did go, I would sit on the back row and wait till they closed the casket because I didn't want to see the person. It was bad.
And all this, people don't know
People had no clue.
that I got a history.
Yeah.
I got some traumatic
had
stuff
no
that's
clue.
happened.
And I didn't even know how to talk about it with my husband because I was taught that what happens in your house stays in your house,
Yeah.
when you're young.
Yeah.
And then it's like you're supposed to put on this exterior and never let people in.
Yeah.
And I had to let him in. Like there were things about my life that he never knew. And so when I went through that healing journey, I took about 6 months off. And I started doing the work. And I remember my counselor during that time, she was like, you got to share this stuff with Dharius.
Yeah.
So I literally had a journal and I would go home and say, all right, you ready to listen? And I would just tell story after story after story.
Yeah.
And that's why I wrote my book, Arise, because it was like, people have to hear this story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When was, because there had to be a shift, right, in how you all
Yeah.
showed up for each other after you started sharing
Yeah.
these journal entries of
Right.
like, this is my past. Yeah.
It was a shift because I was living that mask lifestyle. I think that even for us in our marriage, it wasn't great. He was loving me the way he knew to love me. I was saying things like, hey, you're not loving me the right way. He's like, well, you like a bucket with holes. I'm trying to do everything and water draining out. And I remember one day we were about to start the Lent season, and we always go into the Lent season, 40 days of prayer
Yeah.
and fasting. And so I said, going into this Lent season, I don't want to keep feeling the way I'm feeling.
Yeah.
I was miserable. I had just had my son, and I was like, I'm ready to go. Literally.
Do you feel like this could have been like postpartum?
I don't think so. I think it was just everything catching up with me. I think I had lived. You only can live with a mask for so long
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
it catches up.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was catching up with me.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I remember saying, okay, God, I can't do this anymore. I had packed my bags, and I remember packing up my Louis Vuitton stuff, giving it to him, saying, none of this stuff matters because I just need love. Now I got my stuff back afterwards. But I remember packing up everything, and I was like, I don't want any of this. I was like, I just want to be loved. He was like, something else is wrong.
Yeah.
And then I started my journal, and I had met a lady a year before. She had given me a brochure at a conference. And I'm like, why you walk up to me and give me a brochure about emotional health? So I put the brochure on my shelf. But a year later, when I start feeling some of the things, I pull that brochure out.
Wow.
And I ended up going to her retreat center. And that was the start of my Lent season.
Yeah.
And I went through that retreat center and saw Shameka, who Shameka was. I saw my past. I saw the stuff, the hurt, the pain that I had.
Yeah.
And I started working on me and my healing.
What do you think was the biggest thing you were hiding?
Wow. It was so many things. I think that I first didn't accept some of the things that had happened to me. I didn't accept it. And I also didn't accept how what my behaviors out of it.
Yeah.
I didn't trust a lot of people, so I operated not trusting people. And that's not a healthy way to live.
Yeah.
But I think just learning all the things, my mess, my junk, like literally I wrote it out. We call them stones. So I wrote out all my junk, all my stones, and I started seeing why it made who Shameka was. So I saw where my insecurity came from. And I tell this story often. I remember I had a school teacher in 9th grade, and she called me stupid. And I'm like, I'm not stupid, but it hurt my feelings so bad. I remember calling my mom, and they pulled me out the class because the teacher was just, she was off. And I'm like, I had to prove that I wasn't stupid. So it was like so many things I started seeing in those stones.
Yeah.
And it's like, you proving you're not stupid. You can't trust people because this happened.
Yeah.
And so as I went through those things, it just showed me like, Shameka, you jacked up.
Yeah.
But I knew that I could change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You knew you could change. Is that because emotional health is really like the basis of you all's ministry?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Because I do know that if you're not a healthy person, nothing else in life works.
Yeah.
No relationship works. I just feel like you're on the defense. There's constantly things, different triggers that happen when you don't work on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I loved, and you talk about the emotional healing journey that you've done, you've also done the physical transformation journey.
Absolutely.
And this was fascinating to me because you take a picture while you're on vacation, and the picture comes back. You did not think that anything was going on. And you get the picture back, and you're like, who is that?
Yeah. Like, I gained so much weight. And, I believe all sizes are beautiful. But for me, I knew that something was wrong. And I saw that picture. And so when I saw the picture, I'm like, I got to do something. But the problem is, I don't think I was convicted enough then. So I would still like say I was on a diet, but then go get birthday cake and eat 3 pieces and then throw the cake away so nobody would see it.
Yeah.
And I remember being, we were at a service, we were at a conference in Lafayette, Louisiana, and we were sitting there, and I don't know what the speaker was even talking about, but he was talking, and in that moment, I was like, this is not okay. Like the way I'm treating my body is not okay. And I had gone through some health challenges. I had precancer cells and had to have both surgery on both breasts and things like that. And so my doctor has been telling me all this time, Shameka, you got to get it together, got to get it together. So as I was sitting in that service, I'm like, I need to repent. And I looked over at my husband and I said, I need to repent to you first. Because I was like, you've been asking me, hey, babe, you got to get it together. He was like, when I met you, you look like this. And I get it. That's something he needed from me. There was a physical attraction he had, and I wasn't even willing to keep that up. And so I apologized to him. I was like, I've heard you, but I didn't listen.
Ooh.
And I said, I'm sorry.
Ooh.
And then after that, I had to tell Shameka, I'm sorry. Because I'm like, I got a doctor telling me you need to get it together because of the breast cancer stuff. And then I'm looking at me, and I'm like, I'm not even happy with the person I'm seeing.
Shameka, what we can't do is glaze over what you just said now. Because you said you had to repent to your husband. You had to apologize to him.
I did.
Because you said you had an expectation of how you wanted me to look because of how you met me.
Yeah, and I believe that. A lot of people say you're carnal as a Christian if you care about what people look like. I don't believe that. When I work with couples, I'm like, you need to like what you see.
Yeah.
And if you like a certain type or certain look, certain body type, then that's okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my husband communicated what he liked. And I feel like as a wife, if I need to meet his needs, then I should be getting it together to make sure I meet his needs. So if he want me cute, if he want me a certain size, whatever it is, I'm willing to do that.
Yeah.
But at that time, I wasn't willing.
Yeah. How long was he kind of asking you?
A long time.
Okay.
He asked a long time. And I would do right. You know how you'll get on a diet and you work out for a little bit and fall back off?
Yeah.
I would do those type of things.
Yeah.
And then in that moment, I was just like, I looked at that picture and I asked him, I said, were you even attracted to me? Just look, because this is not what you wanted. And he was like, I gave up. He was like, it was nothing else I could do.
Ooh.
And so then in that moment, I knew that my words didn't mean anything. I needed to show him. Yeah.
That's so good. And this is really because our listening audience, it becomes a challenge for so many women, right?
It does.
We're in relationship. Some women who are listening, they're married, they have children. And life is lifing.
It is.
Life is coming at you fast. Better call Geico.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's coming.
It's coming.
So all the things that are being thrown our way, And yet, oftentimes, we let ourselves go in the
Yes,
process.
we do.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff was stress. Like I was going through a number of things. We had just moved to Orlando at that time because we were there for 3 years. But my husband had lost a friend, very close friend. And so we were going through a lot.
Yeah.
But it still didn't take the place of what I was supposed to be doing for me. Like I needed to realize that I had to get it together.
Yeah.
And so whatever stress eating, grief eating, all of that, I'm like, I got to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a coach, you got an eating coach, you got a
did.
mindset coach, you
I
said. You made the declaration, I want to be a disciplined woman.
That's right. And then I started working out with a trainer.
Yeah.
And so I didn't realize, because I have an immune disorder, but I did not realize how bad it was until I started getting it together. My body just went crazy. So I started bruising and things like this. And so for a long time, my doctor was saying, I guess my body was suppressing everything.
Ooh, yeah.
And the breast cancer part was the first part.
Yeah.
And then the immune disorder. So it's like my body was saying, Shameka, get it together. But I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So when I started eating right, I think maybe I had a few more biopsies where they were questionable. And then once I started eating a diet that wasn't as inflammatory, then all of my biopsies were good. Like I didn't even have any type of papillomas, whatever, all the stuff that I didn't have any more.
Yeah.
Cysts, none of that. And so my doctor told me, she was like, Shameka, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I need to be committed and disciplined. And, I think what convicts me too is a lot of people, I'll see them, whether it's an artist or whoever on stage, and I'm like, you're sharing, you need to be disciplined, or you're sharing, you need to get it together. But I'm like, living discipline has a look.
Baby, come on now,
has a look.
church.
And so
Yes,
I'm
it
like,
does.
I can't get up and tell another woman
Yeah.
to do something
Yeah.
if I'm not willing
Yeah.
to live it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It got a look to it.
It got to look.
So I want to get into the anti-inflammatory diet, because there are so many women who I'm sure
Yeah.
they've heard they're extremely inflamed.
Yes.
They're eating foods that are not good for their body.
Right.
They're not serving them. So what was something that you knew that a part of your diet that you had to give up, and something maybe you had to replace?
Well, I did the food allergy testing, and so I knew that like gluten was something that
Yeah.
I shouldn't have in my body. But the eating coach helped me see the inflammatory foods and processed foods. So we came off of all processed meat. If it's not all natural meat,
Yeah.
like all the sausages and things like that, that's all processed food.
Yeah.
So we came off of all processed food, and she said that you have to eat natural, what comes from the earth.
Yeah.
So it didn't mean that I had to stop eating animal,
Yeah.
but it was a certain type I had to eat.
Yeah.
And I needed to make sure that it hadn't been run through so many processors.
Yeah.
With our seasonings, we went to pink Himalayan salt,
Yeah.
and we went to pepper. We weren't doing all the other stuff. So I love meat. I'm a condiment person.
Yeah.
But I'm like, if you read those labels and it has sodium and things
Yeah,
like that on
yeah.
the back of it, I had to cut it all out. And my weight started dropping.
Yeah.
Now,
I
believe it
mean,
or not,
instantly.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
workout was not doing it for me, because
No.
I had been working out.
Yeah.
But my weight started dropping tremendously
Yeah.
when I
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think was the biggest shift that you had to make in your mind?
Ooh, the commitment part to keep doing it, because I was always the person. I'm analytical, so you can give me a plan, and I can work the plan.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
the consistency to keep
Yeah,
doing it.
yeah.
Yeah. So I had to give myself a word like, Shameka, you're gonna be consistent no matter what. And that was the biggest thing for me.
Yeah.
Being consistent.
How long ago was this? Did you start this journey?
So that started in 2019. September of 2019 is when I had the revelation.
Yeah.
And so I started the journey, and it doesn't mean that you're not going to fall off. I remember I had to have a surgery, and during that time, you can't work out. So
Yeah.
for 6 weeks, I couldn't work out. And after that, it just took me a minute to get back on. And during that time, I started looking in the mirror, I started getting on the scale, and I'm talking to my husband, and he's like, okay. And right then, I'm like, all right, Shameka, you fell off too long. Get
Yeah,
back. And
yeah.
after I got back on that in 2021, once I got back on, I never fell off again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you look like the receipts, because when I saw the picture, I was like,
Yeah.
when was she that damn big? I said,
Yes.
I did not know.
Oh, no, I had to show the pictures.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember we were celebrating my husband's 40th birthday. Those pictures were from my
So yeah,
40th birthday.
5 years ago. Yeah,
And
5
I was
years
like,
ago.
I can never go back. And I told my doctors this. I told ladies I work with, I was like, once you come out, you can never go back.
Yeah.
And that's my goal. I'm going to be consistent, because I will never go back to that place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so good.
And it's been great for me. It's been great for my confidence, but it's been great for my relationships. My husband is like loving me. He's loving the way I'm looking, but then he's loving that part where I was willing to do something for him. Like I was willing to meet a need, because that was something for him. So I did this for me. It's just he benefited from everything.
Oh, talk about that, because that is a real key. You've been married for over 20 years.
Yeah.
You guys have been married for over 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
23 years. That comes with hills and valleys.
Yes.
That comes with highs and lows,
Yes.
ebbs and flows. And so how important is that, what you said right there, of doing something for you, but he got to benefit from it?
So I think the difference is when he would ask me to do things, I would do it, but it was for him. So when you do something for somebody else, you never stay long.
Yeah.
That's why people say when you're trying to go into recovery and you want to get help, you got to want the help.
Yeah.
Other people can want it for you, but you got to want it. And so a lot of times he would ask me things, but I did it for him. So it was short-lived. But when I said, I'm going to do this for Shameka, then it's like I've been able to be consistent. And then another thing is I'm doing it even when he's asking me whatever it is to meet a need. I'm not meeting a need for him. I'm meeting it because I know that Shameka is supposed to meet the needs of her husband because that's what God tells me to do. So now, even when I'm doing those things, I'm still doing it for Shameka. And I'm not going to let myself down. I remember I was reading a book a couple years ago, and she was talking just about the importance of making a commitment to yourself and not letting yourself down. Because that's one thing about me. I'll give my word to everybody else, and I'm not going to break it.
Yeah.
But when it came to me, I was constantly breaking it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's no way to live.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I say, Shameka, you're going to do it, then I'm not breaking my word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said you journaled and that was a part of your healing journey.
Yeah.
Is that something that you still stay true to pretty consistently?
Absolutely. I believe journaling is a way of release. I'm not the most expressive person. We go to football games. I got my cowbell. I'm not screaming like some of the other moms. So that's not my nature to be as expressive. And what I teach people is journaling is a way of being expressive.
Yeah.
So if you're not a person that has the right words or know what to say, the journaling is a release. So I journal every day.
Wow.
Every morning I journal. My devotion time, I start by journaling first.
Oh, that is so good. I have fallen off. I was like consistent for a good 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And it's just been so hard these last couple years for me.
But that's my own, I feel like when I put it on paper, I'm actually facing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I don't put it on paper, I'm not facing it.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I journal. I am intentional. I even have an app now that I use for my journaling.
So, they got that new prompt, like when you update your phone, they got a little journaling prompt now that they put on, like, do you want to journal about? I'd be like, no, get out my business.
Okay.
Don't be trying to tell me where I was yesterday. Do you want to have some memories?
But you know what? I even journal my eating. And I had to with my making sure that I have inflammatory foods because I weigh on the scale each day. I see what I've eaten. Okay, if the weight is more, then I know that's something in my diet that I shouldn't have in my diet. I take it back out. So I've like taken this on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
So I do it for my emotional health, but I do it for me too, for my physical health.
It's so good. I feel like that was one of the tools that I started my health journey at 19 because my father called me Fluffy on a trip for spring break. And I tell people that story all the time because it woke up the sleeping giant.
Right.
But it gave me at 19, I started, implementing different tools. And one of those was writing down my food because I was not mindful of what I was putting in my mouth.
Absolutely.
And then when I look back today, I'm like, oh dang, you was just eating. Come on, hungry hippo.
Yeah, eating whatever. And my thing used to be Snicker bars, and so I laugh sometimes because I'll tell him, hey, I just really want a Snickers, but I'm calculated about it.
Yeah.
So if I do it, I know when I should do it. I know I can't have too many. I know I got to work out right after. So I'm like intentional about that. Yeah.
So you counsel a lot of women through you all's ministry at Change Church.
Yeah.
And you all have a whole counseling practice, basically, that you and your husband and certain other coaches, do. What is one of the biggest things you feel like you spend a lot of time coaching women on relationships or in their marriage?
So for women, I think it's about 50-50. I do a lot of marriage coaching. When people see us and we're doing different podcasts now, I have husbands mostly that reach out to me.
Yeah.
So even in my Instagram DMs, husbands like, can you get me and my wife in? Can you get us in? Can you get us in? So I feel like it's still 50-50, but most marriages is because people are not aware of what's happening in their marriage and they're not meeting each other's needs. That's mainly what people want to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not happy. I'm ready to go. My needs aren't being met.
Yeah.
And I think for a long time, couples, we don't talk about this, often. And my husband and I, we was like, we have to be intentional about talking about it. But I don't think it's anything wrong with meeting your spouse's needs. If you're meeting their need and vice versa is happening, then the marriage should get better. But people are selfish and they're not willing to meet each other's needs.
Yeah.
So I get that. And then from women, I get a lot of, I just don't know what I'm supposed to do with my life. or I can't get it together. You know, there's all type of self-help books, all type of podcasts, but people don't know how to take it and apply it to their life.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I'm just sitting, walking through the application process. This is how you apply what you learn. And that's what I do.
Yeah, you said you're an avid reader.
I am.
So what are you reading right now?
So I'm about to go on a trip. So I just downloaded a book. It's called It's Okay to Be the Boss.
Okay.
So I'm going to read that. And then I have a book that I'm reading. It's called The Healthy Adult. So it's something new that I'm reading. Because I try to do something on like leadership. And then I try to do something on maybe emotional health, and then something on relationships or marriage. So I got a few that I've downloaded that I want to knock out. Yeah.
What's in your top 3 that you would give any woman if she's like, I don't know what to do with my life. I feel like I'm struggling. I'm stuck. I don't know where I'm going. What's my next move?
So for emotional health with the women, I would give Dharius Emotionally Healthy Woman. I would say start there. That helped me tremendously because I didn't know what it meant to get emotionally healthy. People are like talking about it, and there's all these quizzes and stuff you can do now. So her husband, Peter Scazzaro, wrote Emotionally Healthy Spirituality, but she wrote Emotionally Healthy Woman. And one thing that I say was a game changer for me is one of the chapters, it says stop overfunctioning. Because in the book, she has what you're supposed to stop doing. Stop lying, stop everything. So stop overfunctioning. And overfunctioning was doing for others what you should be doing for yourself, what they should be doing for themselves.
Yeah.
And that was me. The acceptance person who wanted to be accepted was doing for others so that I could be accepted. And they should have been doing it for themselves.
Yeah.
So I put that into practice. But I would encourage women, that's a great book. For relationships, His Needs, Her Needs, William Hartley. That is the number one book I would tell, His Needs, Her Needs, because it talks about practically what it means to meet your spouse's needs. It gives examples of what the needs are, and it talks through it. So I think that's super dope. And let me think, what other one would I give? Top 3. I'm a Lisa TerKeurst fan.
You said that's your favorite.
Favorite.
There's not one speaking engagement I've seen of you.
Favorite.
You mention her every time.
I love her because she covers all the bases. She has a lot of good ones right now because she's gone through a lot herself. So she has a good one on boundaries. It's called Good Boundaries, Goodbyes. I would probably say that is like a number 1 read.
Yeah.
You got to read that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are some good ones. I've never, normally when people sit in a seat, because I'm an avid reader myself, so I usually have like, co-signing because I've read one of the books. I've never read any of these books. So that means I'm like, yes, Shameka, I need to see the reader list.
Yes.
You got Amazon, don't you?
I do.
Yeah. We're going to have to drop Shameka's Amazon storefront because she got a whole book list over there. Yeah. So we're going to have to drop that in the show notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that'd be good.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think it's important. I think, what I love about you is that you do the work and then you tell people.
Yeah. That's important for me. Early on, I was very masked again, because when you're living with a mask, you don't let people know what's truly going on.
Yeah.
And once I went through my own journey, I remember getting up for our women's ministry first, because I told my husband, I need to be honest with them first. And so I had an event, and I told him we can't stream it. It's going to be for in-house only. I was like, we'll record it for in-house only.
Yeah.
And I was honest with them about things I had dealt with, things about myself. I said, I've hurt so many people, because I know hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
And I went through and I just shared from my heart some things that I had gone through and how I felt like God had shown me the turn I needed to take. And you don't understand the overwhelming response I got from women that day.
Yeah.
And after that, Dharius was like, okay, all the stuff you've been through, it's time to make it your ministry.
Yeah.
And so I am committed to being transparent, because I know that women, when they hear me talk, they'll say, oh, I can relate to that. There's a part of her I understand. And that will give them the hope to say, I came out on the other side. I'm truly living with joy and peace.
Yeah.
And I want them to see they can do it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Living with joy and peace. What is that moment, that has really defined you in your spiritual journey or your self-discovery journey?
I think that moment was sitting in Hidden Night, North Carolina at Living Waters Retreat Center. That was the moment where she said, Shameka, who are you? Who do you identify with? And I literally opened the Bible and I was like, I have no idea. And she was like, I want you to read about every woman in this Bible and figure out who you identify with. And that was my turning point. it helped me with my spirituality. It helped me with my emotional health. And it just helped me with Shameka being a clear woman on what I've been called to be. And I was able to come out of that. And in business with my husband, for a long time, he was doing things on his own. He has the coaching practices and he has all of these different marketplace ministry things. I wasn't doing any of those with him. And in that moment, I'm like, I'm smart. I should be helping you. I'm helping do everything else. And I jumped in. I was like, I'm your helpmate. I'm no longer embarrassed when people ask me. I would go to retreats and people would be like, what do you do? And I would hate to say I work with my husband because I felt like that was nothing. And those moments helped me say, like, I work with my husband and I do a lot. I don't understand all the things I do. And it was great because I'm confident. I'm clear. I'm super clear.
I mean, that's so good. That's so good. Because I think that sometimes there is a bit of a stigma that we place on women who are either, home engineers,
Stay-at-home,
they're stay-at-home moms, or then those women who have partnered to be in partnership with their husband. Like, oh, I'm not doing enough, or it's not really that big of a deal.
Or like people say, they don't have their own. I get women coming to me all the time saying, how do you make it not having your own? I'm like, well, I do have it. It's just we share it. We do it together. And I'm okay with that. Who was that woman you identified in the Bible? Who did you identify with? Well, I had a couple of them. I think that Esther was one of the main things that I started with. She was one of my main.
You did such a great teaching on Esther. And I watched it and I was like, oh, I've never looked at Esther this way. One, I don't ever think I ever did the whole backstory of the name change, of why she had to change her name and kind of appear as someone else, but what it did to eventually help her people, out of bondage. You did a great job with that. I love that.
Thank you. But I think just discovering her beginning, who she was, wearing her mask, and then all the things she had to go through to get to the palace. She had to beautify herself and go through, a journey of being something that he wanted. And so as I read that, and then I saw once she got in there, what she did and how she helped save her people, I'm like, she a dope woman. I love this. So that's definitely my number one.
You totally gave me a new set of eyes about Esther when I listened to you teach that.
Well, thank you.
It was really good. Really, really different set of eyes, because of course you hear Esther as the queen and what she was able to do, but once again, we don't know the backstory.
We don't know her story.
We don't know the story, And I think that that's the part of knowing the story. And I think that that's what has intrigued me so much about you is because of the story, the background story. And even like you all beginning your ministry and how it is really taking shape. I mean, I told you in the beginning, y'all not new to this because y'all was doing the arenas back then. So now to see the full Gas South Arena,
that's right,
10,000 folks plus in there on a Easter Sunday. There was a
Sovereign Bank Arena in Jersey. We did that years ago. I can't even remember how old my kids were. They were young when we started. But my husband, he's a visionary. He's always had vision. And I told him, it's my goal to make your vision come to life. However I have to do it, and whoever I have to push, and whatever team members we need, I'm there to help support that. But that's what he is a visionary. So I'm like, I don't know what's next, what's going to happen, but I'm like, hey, I'm here for the ride.
Is there something that you still have a longing to do that's strictly for Shameka?
Well, there are some things I'm about to roll out this year. I've dibble and dabble in the podcast world before.
I was going to talk about it. Listen.
I've dibble and dabbed in that, and I love that. I love helping women through different avenues, and I don't want it to always be in a church setting. I want to help women outside of the church because I know all women suffer and struggle. So I am going to re-release a podcast, but I'm going to do it spinning off of this whole Change Her movement because I do believe that the Proverbs 31 woman is a great woman to model. And I want it to be practical. I want it to be real. I want to deal with real issues that people are dealing with. So I'm going to redo some things with the podcast world. And there are going to be some live events that I do, and we travel with them. So that's some stuff that I want to do. And my husband is giving me his full blessing. I got a team of people now working on it. So we're about to come out swinging.
You should. I mean, in listening to the podcast, you had a podcast, Living Life and Loving, with Leticia
Yes,
Gardner.
Leticia.
Leticia Gardner. And I was wondering, I said, well, did they stop doing it? Because I know she went to Amazing Race.
Right,
She
yeah.
was on the
She
show
was on-
Amazing
she
Race
was
with
on
her
the show.
husband. And they did really well
They
on the
did,
show.
yeah. I was so proud of
We
them.
were rooting for them.
Yeah,
Atlanta was deep on that season.
Yes,
Yeah. So we were rooting for them. And they really showed how well they work together.
Right. Yeah, and
That was
she's
really good to
super
see.
dope. People don't know her story, and
I
yeah.
listened to her story on one of you guys' episodes. I had a whole new view of her after I heard her story.
Because people see the exterior, they see this beautiful woman
Yeah.
that is all into fitness, but they don't know her story. So she's dope. She's going to be doing some things with me as well. So I said, let's put it on pause. We needed to go to our different people and just get advice on the best way to do it, because we just jumped out there, but now we want to do it the right way. So
is it going to be the same name, or does it going to be like a rebrand?
Yeah, we're going to rebrand everything.
Okay, yeah. It was, I think what was really solid is you guys gave great insight as two married women, with two men who are high achieving men.
Exactly.
And that comes with another layer.
It does.
To it.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Especially her, because her husband was NFL and he had a different lifestyle. And so ministry, it's like we kind of combined the best of both worlds, and we hit it off. So we've only been knowing each other now a year.
Yeah, she said y'all met, y'all did a panel together.
We did a panel together. But we hit it off because there were so many things about the both of us we felt like just complemented each other.
Yeah.
And she's been an amazing friend, so I'm excited about some things we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel it's hard to maintain friendships?
Oh, absolutely. Friends are hard.
At this,
I talk about that often, especially with women's ministry. I talk about friendship. I remember living in New Jersey, and y'all, I wanted friends so bad. And with small kids growing up, it was hard. I left all of my family, all of my friends, and I'm like, I didn't have close friends for a long time. And I would ask people, like literally walk up to me like, what are you doing? You want a friend? And it didn't go the way I wanted it to go. But later on, I learned how to establish some relationships. And I read a book, Safe People by Henry Cloud, and it helped me see the type of people I needed in my life. And so when I start searching for friends, I start searching based off of what I needed, not what I thought I wanted. Yeah. And that's helped me. And the friendships that I have now, they're solid. Yeah. They're solid.
Yeah. Did people expect all of your friends to be other first ladies?
I deal with that a lot. Because I'm a pastor's wife, but like I'm more than a pastor's wife, right? Yeah. I love fashion and I love so many things, and I feel like people think that all my friends have to be who I am. Yeah. And I don't see it that way, and I don't agree. Yeah. I feel like as long as people are, I have some qualifications, but as long as they're
give
loyal,
some of those qualifications.
Loyal, they have to have high character. Yeah. If they're married, they got to be loving their husband, and I need to see it. I don't need to just hear it. I need to see it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And then I need supportive friends, and I need friends who understand who Shameka is and willing to accept me who I am and not wanting me to change. Yeah. And so if I can get that in a relationship, then that's all I need. You don't have to be a first lady. You don't have to know the Bible backwards and forwards. You need to love God. Yeah. Yeah. But that's what I truly need. Yeah. So I get a little heat from it. Yeah. Yeah, I do.
You got to be loving your husband. If you are married, you got to be loving your husband.
That's right. Don't call me if not.
Yeah.
I don't have time for drama.
That's a strong qualification.
I do not have time for it.
Yeah. Because we are the sum of the people that we are around.
We are.
Yeah. So if you over here talking crazy.
And the Bible says bad company corrupts good people. Yeah. And I truly believe that. Yeah. And then this is the world where people are opportunists and they want so many things. You got to be careful about the people you have around you. Yeah. And their motives. So I like to know motives. When I'm getting to know someone, I'm looking at motives. Yeah. Yeah.
Looking at motives. Well, you're on your way to being an empty nester.
Yes, I am.
And so this is a new era that you're about to enter into your life. Yeah, you are welcoming this.
I'm
new
welcoming
era.
it. Yes, I'm welcoming it. But I'm also meeting with my counselor because I believe you always need a counselor. And you don't need to just have one when something's going wrong. Yeah. I meet with my counselor twice a month. And so she's helping me prepare my mind for this. So the first child, when he went out, I was a mess. I cried every day when that boy left the house. And so this time around, I'm like, I got it. I'm good. Yeah. But she's just helping me make sure that I'm centered in me. And I think we're going to be good. Like, we're already planning how we're going to travel. Yeah. He's going to play football at Syracuse. So I'm going to be there at every football game. Yeah. I've already told the coaches we will be at every game. Yeah. So I'll be at the games, but I'm going to travel and I'm going to enjoy Shameka. I'm going to enjoy Dharius because our marriage, you know, we always said that we wanted to work on our marriage. So when our kids left, that we wouldn't be looking at each other saying, why are we together?
Yeah.
So my marriage is going to be stronger. It's stronger now. It's going to be stronger. And we're going to have fun together. We're going to live life and have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you all really enjoy each other.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys really enjoy each
We do.
other.
Yeah.
So as we begin to close out this interview, one word you're committed to in this season of your life.
I think it would be consistency. Yep. Staying consistent, because if you're consistent in what you do, then I feel like your life will be better.
Yeah. Your life will be better.
It will.
What's the better that you're looking forward to?
I think the better is still growing emotionally. I feel like all of us, we never hit a glass ceiling as it relates to that. So definitely growing emotionally. Relationships in this season mean a lot to me. My husband and I were talking, and we're in a season where we want to be around people that matter to us, people that that truly love us. I don't have time to waste time on people.
Yeah.
So I want to have better relationships in this season. Yeah.
What's one piece of advice you would leave our audience with for the women who are listening, if they're looking to become more consistent, if they're looking to raise their emotional IQ, their relational IQ?
Yeah.
What's that one piece of advice you would give them?
I think I would probably say first you need to identify where you are. I think for a long time I didn't know how jacked up I was. And once you identify and see, you lay it out on the table and see where you are, then it helps you actually put a plan in place. You can't put a plan in place if you don't know where to start.
Yeah.
So I would tell them, you need to really start and see, where am I? Where am I emotionally? Where am I spiritually? Where am I just with life and how I'm living life? And from there, I would say get a true plan. If you can afford a coach or a counselor, I would encourage people to do that. If not, then I would say you need to start following these podcasts, listening to reading books, listening to things that's going to help you with your life. Yeah.
And you've given such a great wealth of knowledge today. You know, in the list of books, we're going to be sure to put those in the show notes and make sure that we link back to your Amazon so we can put them on there. But yeah, this has been such a great conversation. It's gone so fast.
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. I'm excited for you. I think you are, you just have this thing, you know, but it's like this, you're like this quiet, there's this quietness that, but it's poised and it's elegant and it's just sophisticated and it's for right now. Yeah.
And I feel like God has helped me get here. I hadn't always been this way.
Yeah.
But he's helped me develop into this.
Yeah.
I want to love others well in this season of my life.
Yeah.
And I want to lead others.
Yeah. Love others and lead others. Thank you, Shameka Daniels,
for
sitting here with Vault Empowers Talks. Another good one for the books. You guys, be sure to share, be sure to like, and be sure to subscribe. Share this with somebody you know who needs to elevate their emotional IQ, their relational IQ, but become consistent in the process. I'm your girl, Brandi Harvey. Until next time, eat well, give a damn, move your body every single day. Peace.